Any time where he was communicating to the American people, that might not be admissible evidence. Or anytime he's communicating with his attorney general or vice president, any of those communications where he's talking about some official duty like administering an election or something like that, those communications are also inadmissible. So that does make it a lot harder to build a case like this one. But at the end of the day, what you have here is the Democrats still have never charged Trump with the crime that they really want to charge, which is inciting an insurrection. And inciting an insurrection would clearly be beyond the scope of his duties as president, but Democrats still have failed to even bring that charge against him.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with Commentary Editor Conn Carroll. Conn, there's been a lot of hand-wringing about the Supreme Court this week finally issuing its decision on presidential immunity. We heard from President Joe Biden, democracy's at stake. Of course, we heard from even one of the liberal justices on the Supreme Court that this now allows a president to assassinate their rivals with SEAL Team 6. Is this what SCOTUS actually did?
I think that's a good place to start because the Chief Justice, in his majority opinion, called Sotomayor's dissent, in which she outlined a number of crimes, one of them being the president having Navy SEAL Team 6 assassinate their political opponents, as something that could now happen under the majority's holding. And that's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous for a number of reasons, but let's go through them right now. So you have a lot of these headlines saying, the majority decision makes Trump a king, he can do whatever he wants. And that's just simply not true. The majority opinion specifically cites Youngstown versus the United States, in which you had President Eisenhower, who during the Korean War decided that he wanted to seize the steel mills, that he decided was part of his Second Amendment power, or second article power as president, to go ahead and there were striking workers and he could seize them and make them do productions. And the Supreme Court said, no, that is not part of your powers. There's nothing that Congress does, there's nothing from the Constitution that gives you to do that. So therefore, that is not part of your power. So, and the Supreme Court upheld Youngstown in this decision, said that's the first step whenever you look at whether a president should get immunity for a crime, is whether or not it's an official act. And if it is outside of the president's power, then it is an unofficial act. So when you apply that Youngstown Steel decision to the current case, number one, there are a number of laws about using the military, Navy SEALs, on domestic soil. Those are just illegal, both for the president to order it and for the Navy SEALs to participate in it. So already you have something that is contrary to law. So he's already acting beyond his presidential authority. Therefore, by the majority's holding, it would be an unofficial act and he could be held criminally liable. So Sotomayor is just basically making stuff up and fear-mongering for purely political partisan purposes.
Doesn't this still leave Donald Trump in a pretty big gray area? Because wouldn't the Democrats' argument then be, well, what in the Constitution gives the president the powers to challenge election results in this way? I mean, do you think that potentially Donald Trump is still going to stand trial on this?
So the short answer is yes, he's still going to stand trial on this because there's nothing in the Constitution or in any law that says you can or cannot challenge an election. But the prosecutor, Jack Smith, has laid out a number of cases in which there's an ongoing conspiracy to overturn and stop the congressional action. And so what the Supreme Court says, and what Trump's lawyers admitted at trial, was that Trump's interactions with private actions or private parties to get secondary state of electors, alternative electors, to send to Congress, that was an unofficial act. So both sides already agree there are criminal elements, there are crimes alleged in Jack Smith's complaint that are not covered by this immunity decision. But the trial court still has to go back and they have to make that finding. They have to apply the law to these cases, to the other charges, and decide which charges are and which charges are not covered by official acts.
Do you think this Supreme Court decision goes far enough to stop or discourage future lawfare, like what we're kind of seeing in this election, or do you think the door's still open for this to keep happening?
The door's still open, but this definitely makes it a lot harder. This is a huge speed bump, because not only did they say the official acts are immune, but they said communications made through official acts are also immune. So, for example, in the case, they said, look, it is a very core power of the president to be able to communicate with the American people. That is very necessary for his duties. And so what that means is that any time where he was communicating to the American people, that might not be admissible evidence. Or anytime he's communicating with his attorney general or vice president, any of those communications where he's talking about some official duty like administering an election or something like that, those communications are also inadmissible. So that does make it a lot harder to build a case like this one. But at the end of the day, what you have here is the Democrats still have never charged Trump with the crime that they really want to charge, which is inciting an insurrection. And inciting an insurrection would clearly be beyond the scope of his duties as president. But Democrats still have failed to even bring that charge against him.
Because they can't, or because
because they can't, because they don't have the evidence. Yeah.
Right. And finally, your hometown
Yes.
is a mess. So let's
Thanks.
just talk about it, Conn. The Oakland mayor had her home raided by the FBI.
Yes.
A bunch of people quit her office,
Uh-huh.
and everybody's saying she has to go, and she's saying, just like Joe Biden, no, I ain't going anywhere. What's going on in Oakland, California?
Sure. So this is my hometown, as you admit. It's been a mess for a while now. But basically, you had a huge open primary in November 22. A big field of candidates run. A lot of them, some were backed by the press, some were backed by Silicon Valley. The one that ended up winning, that is now, was the universal candidate of the government sector unions, of the government employee unions. So the California teachers, well, actually not the police.
Oh yeah, of course.
Police hater. But the firefighters, the Oakland city workers, the California Nurses Association, and California state really is controlled more than anything else by the government unions. And so all the unions got together, backed her, gave her all the money, and she still only ended up winning by like 300 votes or 600 votes. It was super close.
Wow.
But she ended up winning, and of course, the government unions are just corrupt. And so it turns out that on the same day that her house was raided by the FBI, the house of the city's garbage collector contractor, which I found out has a $1 billion contract with the city to collect garbage. His house and the house of one of his sons was also raided on that same day, and it turns out that she went on a junket to Asia funded by that same garbage contractor earlier. So we don't have all the information yet, but a lot of the reporters in town feel like there is definitely some corruption going on between her and the garbage contractors that might end up bringing her down. We'll see, but she's not going down without a fight.
Right, and meanwhile, crime, is it doing good in Oakland, or remind me, or is it bad?
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. You know, you actually have some cities and localities where crime is going down or turning to normal, but not in Oakland. And you just see all these videos, heartbreaking videos. You know, you have a city where when it comes to criminals, they're very lenient and they'll just let them off on the street with any bond. But you know, if you're a business owner and your city gets broken into and vandalized, the inspector will come around the next day and say, you have to get this fixed in 30 days or we'll fine you even more. So it's this micromanaging of legal actors and people that are trying to be good, and then just this free-for-all for the criminal saying do whatever you want. And it's not a good combination.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
No, it's not.
Well, do better, Oakland. Conn, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
You can get more writing from Conn and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.